move away from the noisy area. So we're going to have this. Hello,
I'm sorry,
Samani.
Armstrong? Yes, I just want to find out from you what is the latest that is happening currently at the MPP headquarters.
Samani, currently the Vice President just filed his nomination forms and he has gone to the podium addressing the massive crowd here to support him. I mean, his first speech, his first word was wow, this is a massive crowd. And indeed, it is a massive crowd because this is the very first time I'm seeing presidential candidates filing his nomination form with such a massive crowd. The Vice President has been talking to the supporters and mentioning some great achievements he has come up with since he became Vice President. And of course, he mentioned how he spearheaded or supported the President to bring into being the Ghana card, also the free education, and a lot of things he has numbered here that through him all that has come possible, and he's looking forward for the delegates to vote for him come November 2nd, so he leads the NPP party going forward into the 2024 election.
Right. So, Armstrong, how does it look like the team and supporters will be leaving the party's headquarters anytime soon?
As it stands now, I'm very sure when the Vice President is done with his speech, which is currently on, definitely they are going to move away from this place. These supporters, I'm told, have been gathered from all parts of the country. I can see people from the Ashanti region, the northern part of the country, and also the Volta region, and about 120 MPs are all here. I can see the regional minister, Greater Accra regional minister, the fisheries minister, Akumsi, and also Aborampah. That is the majority chief group who led the 120 MPs, bringing Bawumia to file his nomination from Samani.
So basically, Dr. Bawumia is still at the premises, or he's left?
He's still at the premises, delivering his speech to the massive supporters who are gathered here at the MPP party office here in Accra.
I want to thank you so much for your time, my colleague Joseph Armstrong Gold Alogbe, coming to us from the MPP's party headquarters in Asylum down there. Meanwhile, last surveyed by Posters Global Info Analytics indicates that Vice President is more likely to win the presidential primary. Musa Dankwa is the Executive Director of Global Info Analytics. Well, we'll bring you that soundbite subsequently. But we're working the phone lines now to speak with a political analyst and lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, Jonathan Asantioche, for some more on this. And as and when we get him, we'll bring you that conversation. Well, the Majority Chief Whip has revealed that the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, is opened for the Bawumia-Alan ticket and will avail himself for such talks any day. There are increasing calls for both candidates to join forces together for an MPP victory in 2024. Frank Anodon says the grassroots have accepted a Dr. Bawumia ticket. My colleague Komla Kuche has the following report.
Supporting his candidature. To them, it is Dr. Bawumia's time, and absolutely nothing should be done to change it.
Ours has been to only 2 regions. It cannot be the case, and we cannot be seen as a national party if we rotate just between 2 regions. It's wrong. And we are claiming to be the Dankwa Buzia Domo tradition. We have to do the needful. This message has sunk, and the party rank and file have bought into this message. Nobody can change it.
How would latest polls by Global Info Analytics puts the VP ahead of his closest contender and former Trade Minister Alan Kyerematen. The Majority Chief Whip Frank Anodon in an interview with TV3 says attempts were made to have Dr. Bawumia and Alan run for the MPP slot, but was fiercely resisted by the Alan team.
I was with him alone at home and I mentioned it to him, and he said it's interesting and he would not go against it if finally we are able to get it fine-tuned and confirmed. He will not be against it.
He finds it interesting.
Yes.
if that attempt is used.
Yes.
I mean, is he still open to that?
I haven't discussed that again. Now I'm more focused on making sure that we defeat all the candidates.
As Dr. Bawumia submits his nomination form on Friday, it has now become a full-blown contest between the Vice President and Alan Kyerematen, despite others who are equally seeking to lead the Dankwa Busia Dombo tradition into the 2024 polls. Komla Kluche, Parliament.
Well, let's go back to that, survey by the Global Info Analytics, which indicates that Vice President Dr. Bawumia is most likely to win the presidential primary. Here is Musa Dankwa, the Executive Director of Global Info Analytics.
The current poll that we've done among only delegates, polling station executives, now shows that Dr. Bawumia has a lead of almost 35%, 34.8%, and Alan on 27.9%. About almost 28%, and Kennedy on 12.5%. Polls have been showing consistently since January 2022, but we've seen a narrowing of the gap between the general public, or between Alan and Bawumia, to now a single-digit point. So that gap is narrowing as we speak, but we don't know what the situation is at the moment. We're going to be going back to the polls again at end of June.
Well, for more on this, let's welcome in Professor Santi Ochre. He's a political analyst and lecturer at the University of Cape Coast there. Many thanks for your time, sir. Now, for many, the MPP primaries is a done deal for Vice President Dr. Bawumia. From where you sit, is that really the case?
Well, that is quite interesting. Let me say good afternoon to our listeners. If you are relying on the polls, that there's still some lacuna, as it were, those who are undecided and those who did not tip off their finger. And that constitutes a certain percentage that could either go this way or that way. But you see, it is very easy when you have the vice president having the tacit support of the sitting president. And what that means is that the establishment is behind that particular candidate, so to speak. So you will have the grassroots aligning themselves with the other person, and that is Alan. Now, if you ask me, the Alan Bawumia competition or Kennedy competition is beyond the optics. I think that there is something ingrained, as it were, and I've said it probably on other platforms, and that is, you see, Dr. Bawumia represents an extension of Mr. Akua. At the grassroots, you see a certain percentage of the MPP delegates themselves who think that Ghana is heading the wrong way. And then, of course, when it comes to the MPP as a whole, you will have a certain number, was majority, thinking that the government or the party or the nation is being run well. But if you have such a number saying that it's not being run well, then it should tell you that the establishment is in danger as it were. Because that percentage of positive support is not that much. Though it's in the 70s, it is not significant enough. So if you ask me, it goes beyond the optics. Dr. Bawumia represents the establishment. Mr. Alan represents the grassroots, and that of Kennedy Japan also representing the grassroots, and a certain number of some elite, but they are in the minority.
Right.
In the same way as, but the problem has always been the fact that because you have a certain president supporting the vice president, so to speak, you will see that all his appointees, majority of his appointees will be rooting for Dr. Bawumia, whether they like it or not.
But does that give him an unfair advantage over the others?
Well, what can you do? That is politics. Okay? It could also have been possible that the president wouldn't have supported Bawumia.
Right.
But if you support Bawumia, means that you want to extend the rule of Mr. Akua, of which you have a certain percentage of the MPP delegates themselves who are disgruntled. But of course, in terms of the general public, the percentage against the government is huge. That is quite huge. So if you look at Mr. Alan, now, you see, the Asante factor of the MPP fraternity is also there. And they feel that they have been done by the Achim factor, and they will want the party to come back up. So it is not that easy and simple between the two of them.
Right. I want to thank you so much for your time, political analyst and lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, Jonathan Asante-Ocherede. Many thanks for your time. Now let's bring you some more stories. And the ban on the movement of tricycle taxis within the central business district of Kumasi is expected to take off today, June 16. The decision by city authorities is part of moves to decongest the area and sanitize the road following the growing indiscipline among riders. Our Ashanti regional correspondent Ibrahim Abubakar joins us from Kumasi for some updates. Ibrahim, many thanks for your time. Can you confirm if this directive has indeed taken effect, as we know that the growing number of tricycle taxis in gross indiscipline among these riders, not following road regulations and reckless driving? Can you confirm that indeed this directive has taken effect from today? Ibrahim, can you hear me? Well, we seem to be having some technical challenges there connecting with Ibrahim Abubakar, our Ashanti regional correspondent. It's difficult to connect to him, and then we'll try and connect with him as and when we get him, we'll bring you that conversation right here. Well, let's move on now and bring you some other stories, as we know that the Majority Chief Whip has revealed that Vice President Dr. Bawumia is opened for a Bawumia Alan ticket, which will avail himself for match talks any day. There are increasing calls for both candidates to join forces together for an MPP victory come 2024. Frank Anodompress says the grassroots have accepted a Dr. Bawumia ticket. Here's Kumakuche.
For the majority MPP MPs, Dr. Bawumia has for now 120 members fully supporting his candidature. To them, it is Dr. Bawumia's time, and absolutely nothing should be done to change it.
Ours has been to only 2 regions. It cannot be the case, and we cannot be seen as a national party if it rotates just between 2 regions. It's wrong. And we are claiming to be the Dankwa Buzia Domo tradition. We have to do the needful. This message has sunk, and the party rank and file have bought into this message. Nobody can change it.
How would latest polls by Global Info Analytics puts the VP ahead of his closest contender and former Trade Minister Alan Chairman. The Majority Chief Whip Frank Anodompress, in an interview with TV3, says attempts were made to have Dr. Bawumia and Alan run for the MPP slot, but was fiercely resisted by the Alan team.
Now, away from the MPP primaries, political parties are expressing mixed reactions to the concerns by Electoral Commissioner Dr. Kojo Farijan that having multiple collation centres could potentially lead to a disastrous consequence as each centre. My colleague Noble Crosby Annan engaged with the NDC, the MPP and CPP earlier, and this is what they had to say.
I think he's right. What we need is to revert to the constituency coalition centers, and after that you fax straight to Accra. Another layer is also going to replicate the problems that you already have at the constituency center. And has it served us well? It has not served us well, because in this last election that we had, this is a time that we had the EC not being able to give us accurate results. This results kept changing.
Dr. Farijan's suggestion, will it sit well with the CPP as a political party?
Dr. Farijan has experience. He's handled a lot of elections in this country. And for me, anywhere there's a discrepancy where the Electoral Commission is concerned, go to IPAC. Let's sit, let's discuss it. Let's see the reasons why a party would say no, we don't want, a party would say yes, we want it. And then take it from there. Take it from there. I feel that the bureaucracy can be too much. And it could be causes for challenges coming up. So, for instance, you're waiting for figures to come from the collation center in Accra. It's taking time. Isn't that tension? Won't people be wondering, why are the figures? Why is it taking so long? Doesn't it give chance for others to do what they feel they want to do in terms of creating mayhem? Ideally, straight from the polling station constituency straight to headquarters.
Dennis, the MPP thought that this is another added layer of verification, and that, makes the process transparent better. But Dr. Afarajan, he thinks we need to revert to the old system.
How many elections have we had since Dr. Afarajan left? About 4. So it's been a while. He's very experienced, but there's been a lot of evolution within our electoral processes. I have always maintained, I don't see why creating more transparency is rather problematic. The primary data is the polling station pink sheet. So if there's anything anybody should be concerned about, it's the polling station. If that is the case, then why do we need a constituency coalition center for the presidential results? It should come to Accra from the polling station directly, if that argument is anything to go by. If the argument is that there can be manipulation at the regional coalition center, then there can be manipulation at the constituency coalition center, isn't it, my brother? So then why don't we send it directly from the polling station to the center? I think, these are thoughts that if any political party makes, maybe the political party is not a serious political party.
If the EC decides to go back to the constituency coalition center straight to the national,
MPP has been a champion of all major electoral processes in this country. We are always ready. We have a system in place. We collect our results from the police station. So for us, we really can't be bothered what is going on at the constituency or region or even national, because by the time we get to the national center, we are coming with our pink sheet, 38,622.
You were advocating for a return to the previous methods of collation, the reduction in the collation procedures. If the EC decides to maintain this because they may think it is working perfectly?
Well, if Parliament approves of their CI, that will mean that they will still maintain the regional coalition center. But I also want Parliament to do its work, because what I am of the view is that Parliament is the bastion of democracy. And if Parliament looks at the regional coalition and feels strongly like we feel, I think that Parliament can decide to shoot it down.
If Parliament decides to maintain the CI of the EC, what it then means is that political parties should make sure that they are ready to supervise and monitor every step of the way, from polling station, constituency, regional, and then to national.
Let's move away from politics now, and municipal authorities in Korle Klottey say they would soon begin prosecuting food vendors who display food meant for public consumption on the ground. The public health officer of the assembly, Victor Akua, says consumers face greater health risk as a result of the practice. The municipal health directorate, together with the Food and Drugs Authority, have been sensitizing food vendors on food safety and hygiene ahead of a crackdown.
State agencies like the Food and Drugs Authority and the assemblies have been promoting food safety and proper handling of food, although traders and food processors are required by law to obtain certification from the Ghana Standard Authority and the Food and Drugs Authority. Not all traders and food processors have complied. In the Korle Klottey municipality, vendors display food products on the ground where they collect dust. In order to reorient them on the need to keep food sales to the general public safe, the Public Health Directorate of the Assembly has started working with some food traders within the municipality.
You get to market and food is placed on the ground. You get a market and things that are dirty are used to display food. You get a market and it's like, anything can go at the market. But you go to other places to, like a supermarket where you have the same food item there, you realize that the display and the way it is packaged is different. But the basic aspect is the way the food is displayed, for which we want to avoid contamination from the very markets where they display their food. But we don't want to go with the direct enforcement. What we want to do an engagement. Before now, we'll go in and ensure that those who are failing to comply will not be allowed to sell at the markets.
Some traders were happy the intervention will promote food safety. Head of the Food Enforcement Department of the FDA, Maria Lovelace Johnson, has reassured the public that the authority will not renege on its responsibility to protect the public interest.
We have this funny saying like African James don't kill, and hygiene by Bolaka Kuno. And you know, I mean, really, my engine was a big deal. This is some of all these things don't help the situation. So we always say that food safety is a collective responsibility. People will have to understand. People will have to appreciate it.
Now, the chairman of the National Media Commission, Yao Boedu Ajibwafo, has rejected calls to give the commission more powers. The commission's work was criticized for being biased towards the elite at an IEA event, citing the media's viewpoint in Accra. For former chairman of the commission, Karablay Amihir, he would rather have the membership of the commission reduced on full time to enable members work more efficiently.
I've been there. We are 18 members. We meet about, as I said, only about 6 times a year. In between, it takes the chairman, if he's that involved, to push things. But it's not a full time. So that's why I would rather have a reduced membership for the NMC on a full-time basis. If you really want to regulate the media landscape, you should do it full-time, because those we are trying to help to promote standards are breaking the rules full-time.
Well, the editor-in-chief of Daily Insights, Kwesi Pratt Jr., is of the view the MMC is completely biased and using other instruments to muzzle the media, and so must not be giving any more powers to oppress.
And I get surprised that practitioners are those who are constantly calling for teeth to bite them. They want to be beaten, and I can't understand it. The National Media Commission was never intended to have teeth. Its primary responsibility is to safeguard the freedoms of everybody. Free expression. And free expression is not for journalists. It is not the property of journalists. Free expression is for all citizens, not journalists.
Well, the chair of the commission, Yao Boedu, in his response, all the submissions made, he said he wished there would be no control of the media entirely.
It is better that we engage people and discuss things than to assume that if we're to punish people. If there is goodwill from among all of us, that goodwill will reflect also in the media. We want to sanitize the environment, but the approach should be dialogue, discussion, engagement, rather than control.
Well, let's take you back to the Central District of Kumasi, where we understand that there's a ban on the movement on tricycle taxis there. My colleague Ibrahim Abubakar joins me on phone for some confirmation. Ibrahim, many thanks for your time. Can you confirm if this directive has indeed taken effect?
Well, Samani, fortunately for the tricycle riders or tricycle operators, the ban couldn't take effect today. And so as we speak, thousands of them are still within the Central Business District conducting their activities. The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly and some stakeholders, together with the leadership of the tricycle operators, are still in the meeting. KMA says it wants to do further and broader consultation with this issue before it comes with a new date. So fortunately, like I said, now they are operating. But the mere fact that KMA says it is going to engage in a meeting and come out with a new date, that is what is worrying the tricycle operators, because for them, all along, all that they have been telling city authorities is that, yes, they want the system to be sanitized, especially minors who are riding should be taken out. People who breach the road traffic regulations should be punished, and so on and so forth. They are expecting city authorities to regulate their activities rather than restricting their movement. So they should punish offenders and leave those who want to work, because as we speak, they have about 18,000 tricycle operators within Ashanti region, and out of these 18,000, 70% of them are operating within the Central Business District. So they see that it will be a major blow and even push some of them out of business should the city authorities restrict their movement within the Central Business District.
Ibrahim, many thanks for your time. My colleague Ibrahim Abubakar coming to us from the Central Business District of Kumasi, where we understand that the ban on the movement of tricycles within, that area was supposed to have taken effect, but the Metropolitan Assembly is in talks with stakeholders there. And that's it for the news on 3FM 92.7. You can find more news when you log onto our website. It's 3news.com. I am Emmanuel Samani. Take care of yourself and be well. We have business coming up next with Akua, Mensah, Aborampah. Good afternoon.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM.
A very good afternoon to you. Thank you for joining us on Business Daily. Coming up this afternoon, former president of the Ghana Association of Banks, Alhassan Andani, canvasses support for local enterprises to make them globally competitive. And in our special Friday feature, we will tell you about surviving after retirement. My name is Akua, Mensah, Aborampah. Let's go for the details shortly. Thank you for staying with us. And to begin with this afternoon, former president of the Ghana Association of Banks, Alhassan Andani, is canvassing support for local enterprises to make them globally competitive. According to him, there is the need for African governments to support SMEs to grow them out of their home countries. Mr. Andani addressed the media at a conference organized by LVS Africa on building enduring businesses.
Enterprises just don't come into existence by default. They are orchestrated. They are orchestrated by states. They are orchestrated by the shareholders. They are orchestrated by leaders. So if we take South Korea basically has probably very little natural resources, but South Korea has some of the leading global brands. Those are enterprises. Those enterprises were orchestrated by states. They were orchestrated by states. Then you have, of course, places like in America, free enterprise, but people come up with very bright ideas and themselves and investment bankers and shareholders orchestrate to take that business outside of the jurisdiction of America.
And that was former president of the Ghana Association of Banks, Alhassan Andani there. Let's look at some more this afternoon. And a tax policy analyst, Alex Ampabing, says there is more to the decrease in Ghana's international trade aside geopolitical tensions between Russia and Ukraine. A Bank of Ghana summary of economic and financial data report has blamed the 5.7% decrease in Ghana's inbound and outbound total container traffic at the Tema and Takrady harbors to the ongoing geopolitical tension. Speaking to 3 Business, Dr. Ampabing said the country cannot blame only Russia and Ukraine for the situation.
If you come to Ghana, it's not only the geopolitical tension that has resulted in the decline of international trade. For example, vehicle registration has reduced by 44% compared to last year. The question is why? This, I believe, is not a Russian-Ukraine issue. It's an issue of the high cost of doing businesses now. Investors or car importers, for example, have to spend more in importing cars because of the exchange rate challenges compared to last year. So to have the vehicle registration reduced by 44%, this is substantial. Another key concern is also the labor demand. Labor demand has reduced by 6.3%, which means that industry or companies are not hiring as before compared to last year. This clearly signifies the challenges on the cost of doing business.
That was Dr. Alex Ampabin. He is a tax policy analyst. Let's talk about our special Friday feature this afternoon. And if you belong to the working class, have you thought of how you will survive after you retire or are unable to work due to unforeseen circumstances? If yes, do you contribute to SNIT, or are you among the many who want to depend on their offsprings for survival in their old age? In this report, my colleague Menu Afo has delved into this issue and has come through with the following.
Imagine the devastation of someone who thought he was making contributions towards his pensions, but ended up finding out he had nothing.
When I stopped the job, I wanted to continue contribution. So when I went to the SNIT company, they told me that the process is not genuine process. But I have been going up and down, up and down. I walk, tired.
To say nothing of the helplessness of knowing that you have nothing to fall onto in your old age when you're probably sick and need as much help as you can get. Despite all the risk involved in living one's old age without pension, there still are ignorant people.
Some of the people are saying that if they retire and the money that they're supposed to get, they don't get it. So that one cannot encourage me to do it.
I know that maybe it's only those who work under the government.
Research shows that globally, about 68% of people who are retirement age receive monthly pensions. In Africa, it's just 23%. And when you further narrow it to Ghana, just 11% of these people receive monthly pensions.
Currently, SNIT has about 1.8 million active contributors, most of whom are from the formal sector, with just 2% representation from the informal sector. With the aforementioned concerns by workers in the informal sector, can the goal of roping in more people be achieved?
Talking about construction workers, market women, looking at transport, everybody is facing some kind of risk. So if you get an accident and you are unable to engage in any economic activity, regardless of your age, SNIT is going to pay you. So I feel invalidity pension in particular is very, very good. They would have to deepen education about the benefit provisions of the scheme. And they would have to undertake both public and policy reforms to make the scheme attractive for people to come on board.
So ideas have been shared and plans are being executed. But the big question is, how long will it take for Ghana to catch up with the rest of the world? From the current 11% to over 60%, so that poverty can be alleviated amongst the aged. Menu Afol reporting for 3 Business in Accra.
And that was a beautiful report by my colleague Menu Afol. So it will keep you on your toes. You're very active now, but after 60, how would you survive? That is for you and I to respond to that. But just before we go, prices of petrol and diesel are expected to go up from today as the second pricing window kickstarts. And petrol and diesel went up during the first pricing window at the beginning of June per the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC. The expected increase in petrol and diesel prices is largely due to a 4.16% depreciation of the cedi to the dollar in the last 2 weeks. COPEC is calling on government to reduce taxes and levies prices build up in order to cushion consumers. Currently, the total taxes and levies make up 25% of petrol and diesel. So when you visit the pumps today, you should expect between 1 and 5% increase in petrol and diesel. It hasn't reflected yet because I bought fuel this morning. I don't know if it has reflected this afternoon. We'll check that out and let you know. But for LPG, we are looking at between 8% and 10% decrease when you visit the pumps to fill your gas cylinder. So be expectant on that. But log on to 3news.com. We have more business news updates. My name is Nana Akua Mensah. Enjoy your lunch. Good afternoon. Black Rasta is next.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3 FM.
a spiritual